Welcome to RockEyez, man.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
No problem. Let's see. The first thing I have is you put out a three-track demo back in 2017, and you did various other releases too. But on the press release, it says debut album. Um, can you tell me anything about that? Because I got also in March of 2020, you put out 11-track, I guess, demo or whatever, and you do a Dio and Wasp covers.
Yeah.
So tell me a little bit about the history of the band.
Okay. So specifically regarding the releases, 2017, we put out a 3-track demo on cassette. That's how we released it on a format.
Right,
The recordings were pretty raw, like they weren't, just something that we put together really quick to get something released.
right,
And we were able to get the sound out there. I think we did a small tour, but in 2018 we released a 6-track EP, and that's the self-titled release that we did. And that was what we promoted pretty much all touring from 2018 through 2019.
right.
The 2020 release was we at the time we had a label deal that was going to re-release the EP 2 years later, but as an expanded edition. So we included the 2017 demo on the EP that we released in 2018 for additional tracks, because he wanted to release a vinyl
Right.
with like kind of like just to make it like extra special with like more stuff on it. So we wanted to put the 2017 demo. We released a single in 2019, the song Carry On, and then we did the 2 cover songs, and then that's how we wanted to fill it out. So like EP on side A,
Right.
bonus on side B. So that's like to kind of clear up all of the releases that we did, specifically from 2017 through 2020.
Right. Does that include Final Hour?
Yeah, so Final Hour has been released in various formats.
Uh-huh.
It actually got released on the demo in 2017, and then it also got released in we were part of a compilation called No Legacy. I don't know if you heard about that one.
Okay. Yeah.
Actually, let me see if I could pull out the vinyl.
Cool.
So we did this in 2017.
Right.
It was probably our best track at the time. So
Cool.
Eric Kluber of the band.
Nice cover.
Yeah, it's pretty cool, huh? The
Yeah,
artist that did
yeah,
this,
definitely is. Yeah.
the artist that did this is going to do our debut album that's going to come out later this year. But yeah, that's what it is.
That's nice.
So Eric Kluber he put this out, and I think he plays in White Wizard now. He used to play in Void Vader, Gypsy Hawk, all those types of bands. Anyways, so Final Hour was released on that, the demo, and then also on the 2018 EP, and then it was re-released on the 2020 expanded edition.
Right, right. Did most of them come out on cassette besides vinyl?
Yeah, so the demo was on cassette in 2017. We independently released the EP in 2018. That was also on cassette. And that's it for now.
Cool, cool. How difficult is it to get known, sending out cassettes and stuff like that, and getting press without the internet?
Without the internet, I'd say it's pretty difficult these days. I mean, obviously, if you're a young band and you're buzzing through social media, I mean, you have to be really aggressive with the social media part of the business, and with that, we are not that at all.
Right.
What some really good bands produce in 1 year, I think is like what we've done in like 6 or 7.
Uh-huh.
But the press, it just operates in different mediums these days. It's hard to get on the radio.
Right.
You got if you do well, then maybe you get a lucky break, and then your video kind of enters an algorithm of discovery for various platforms,
Right.
like on YouTube or TikTok or Instagram's reels and so on. So I'd say it's pretty difficult. I mean, the traditional methods are still what props up the mainstream these days.
Right.
But I think getting to radio commercials, that kind of stuff. I mean, that's for the big boys. Where the money is at, I think.
Right.
But I could be wrong.
Yeah. 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 Wow. Do you play outside of California?
Yeah. So pre-pandemic, we were very active. We did a lot of touring from 2017 through 2019, all over the US into Canada. But these days, we took a pretty long, I wouldn't say hiatus, because we were still playing shows in San Diego,
Right.
regional shows. We did a couple of shows in LA in the last 3 years. But right now we've just been regionally performing. But we do have really strong intentions to get back out there.
Cool. Cool. How's it feel playing with your brother?
I've played with my brother in various bands. We did a cover band when we were like teenagers, and then while I was still in school, I started a band with a guy named Mario. That was like our first like real band.
Right.
Um, we played in Mallison. They're also San Diego based, and so I think playing with my brother, I think it actually has a lot of benefits. Than most. I mean, and the fact that we're like a two-man organization makes things a lot easier.
Right.
Making decisions on business related things are so much more smooth. It's just me and him. It's a 50
Right.
50 arrangement when it comes to how we spend our money, how we make our money. He's also incredibly talented in a lot of things. He can sing well. He's an
Right.
incredible guitarist. He's also the engineer for our recording, but also the mixing and mastering engineer for production. So I think it's a blessing. It's a blessing in a lot of ways. And if we blow up on each other, or if we get in disagreement on the road, I mean, we're gonna have to play together that night and find a place to crash that night. So, and by the next day, things are pretty patched up.
Cool. Cool. What would you recommend a newer band how to break into music?
I feel like I'd be talking to myself. Um, well, we had a lot of momentum. I think we had a lot of momentum pre-pandemic. I mean, most bands did, right? I feel like the industry has changed a lot since then. I felt like a lot of bands were actively touring. I mean, a lot of bands in the underground circuit. I feel like there was like on any given month, your local rock bar or your local dive bar had shows coming in from all over, and specifically in the underground rock and heavy metal scene too. These days, everything's just so much more expensive. So you have to be really, really focused with how you do things. And I think that's why we took so long to kind of get back into the scene. But if I can like turn back the clock and have all the knowledge that I have now, I'd probably start with just producing a demo just as fast as you can. Like just you have a band, put together a demo, spend one afternoon and try to put it together yourself if you can. Just record
Right.
the songs. And if you can't do that or you don't know how to, then pay a guy for like 3 or 4 hours and then just get in one room and then record it as fast as you can, and then just put something out. The internet works in very mysterious ways, but as soon as you can leave your mark on Bandcamp or the metal encyclopedia or something, you have something that people can reference. And then if you have the time and the patience and the energy for it, being really involved with social media. I
Right.
think I think the ways of Facebook and Instagram are becoming, just more paid marketing. So in order for you to access your own fans, you have to pay for that stuff, which is kind of a burden. But if you make really, really good content, you can always access them actually free. So I don't know if that makes sense algorithmically. But things like TikTok and other form like YouTube, I think that there's still in a lot of ways easier
Right.
to access your fan without tapping into your wallet. And I've strongly considered just stop posting stuff on Instagram and Facebook and then just becoming like a YouTube ban.
Right.
But the reality of that would be, you know, solid video, solid recordings,
Right.
uh, always having to be behind something and then editing it all. So it's really, that's what I would do it. And then as soon as you get your demo out there, take a solid photo and then start crafting and drafting a story that is unique to yourself. You know, it's really easy to get swept up into subgenres and certain sounds and certain bands. And then being smart with the shows that you play. So obviously when you're a new band, you just want to play as many shows as you can, you know, like 1 month here, 1 month there. And you find yourself playing like 6 or 7, 8 shows a year in your own hometown, which is great. But once you start getting more serious and you start producing maybe like a single or an EP or an album, then you want to be more specific with it because you can't keep playing the shows to the same audience because we've experienced that. You know, we haven't had a proper release since 2018. And from 2018 to 2024, have essentially been playing around the same set. So none of our fans are coming out right now because they've seen us already and they've seen the songs that we've been performing. So being really smart about how you spend your money and your time, but also being really focused. And I always tell young bands if they ever ask me, which they don't often, but come up with like a 2-year timeline with like what you want it to be and then try to like write it down and then
Right.
cross off the things on the list as you go because you will probably be more successful than 99% of the bands out there in that time frame.
Right. Right. Who does all the networking for the band? You?
Yeah, me.
It takes up time.
Can you tell?
It takes up a lot of time.
Yeah, I
So
mean,
jumping from Instagram to TikTok to YouTube to Facebook to everything. It takes a long time.
yeah. You know, there's a buddy of mine, his name is Sheldon. He plays in a speed metal Canadian band called Road Rash. And he also just started a new band called Power Load, I believe.
Mhm.
We call him band dads.
Uh-huh.
So it's kind of like the guy that's putting it all together, you know, that kind of holds it together professionally and on a network capacity. So yeah, that'd be me.
Oh, cool. In your earlier years, did you collect anything?
Like earlier when I was like a kid.
Yeah, and say high school or whatever. Yeah.
Yeah, so I've always kind of been a collector at heart. You know, I mean, when I was a little kid, I really was into Pokemon cards, you know, collecting the video games because they had different versions of video games, the different colors and stuff. And then when I became a teenager, I picked up Yu-Gi-Oh cards, so I always collected those and played with those. And I was pretty, um, I spent a lot of my time, my teenage year. I mean, I was a late bloomer, you know, I wasn't the prototypical guy, you know, that did sports and got all the girls. And, you know, that wasn't me. I was just kind of like a band nerd growing up. So I collected a lot of cards back then. Even into my late teens, early 20s, I still actively played and collected. But um, I mean, I've always been a collector. I need to collect something. So like in my early to mid 20s, I collected a lot of like vintage sneakers,
Right.
Nikes, Jordans, that kind of stuff. And then once that became too expensive and mainstream, I'm now into records,
Oh,
collecting vinyl
cool. Yeah. What's your feeling about vinyl coming back? You got one, so like you like that?
records. Yeah, man. It's always been something that have I never thought about it, you know. I mean, I remember you probably have done this too. Maybe like 10, 15 years ago, you were buying digital albums.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah, you know, I still have a hard drive with albums that I've purchased digitally.
Right.
And you know, I feel like I was like, man, how did I like sometimes do you ever look at your collection like
Right.
digitally or even physically and you're like, how the hell did how did I come across this? I have no idea how I bought this or how this
Right.
came into possession. So the resurgence of vinyl, I think, is kind of kind of came with into the mainstream as a format that kind of champions not only a way to support your band
Right.
you know, but also in a way to kind of physically collect things
Uh-huh.
and to physically own them. You know,
Right.
I mean, it sounds like you've been in around the scene for a very long time. So, I mean, vinyl never really went away.
Right.
I mean,
Yeah.
there's still releases that were, you know, in the mid 90s, early 2000s, mid 2000s that were put out on vinyl record. And some of those things are extremely rare these days. But I think, you know, I mean, I tried to get a hair appointment the other day. And I had to like create an account, go online, download an app just to make an appointment. And I'm like, dude, this is crazy. So like your data is being collected everywhere you go and you don't own anything.
Yeah.
You know, like do you remember VCRs,
Yeah.
VHS, DVD, Blu-ray, like all that stuff? Like you don't own anything anymore, which kind of sucks, but I kind of like it. It's a tangible way to collect something, which is for me, I really enjoy it, but it's also an expression of like who you are.
Right.
Um, you know, I don't intend to ever sell my record collection, even though I think about it at times, but you know, maybe I'd pass it down to my family someday, you know, or it becomes collectible in
Yeah.
the next generation or something, 30, 40 years from now. And I have records that were only produced 200 copies or something. I don't know. But
Cool.
yeah, I think it's a really good thing. I think it's a really good thing. The only thing that I don't like about it is that vinyl is also the most expensive format.
Right.
Uh, so, you know, 10 years ago, when I started kind of dipping my toes into it,
Right.
uh, I mean, you can go to a show and buy a record for like 15 bucks
Yeah.
or a variant for like 20 bucks. And then now bands announce pre-orders and, you know, the non-variant copies like 28.99 plus $7 shipping.
Yep. Yep.
So so that kind of sucks too, but you know, you do what you can to support the band.
Cool. Cool. Yeah. Me, I collect guitar picks. So, you know, if you go on my Facebook and stuff like that, you'll see a lot of guitar picks, you know. So that's my favorite. Plus it's small, it's easy to collect, you know.
Yeah,
So
that photo you sent me was really cool. Like you can do like in a binder format.
yeah,
You
I
can
got
kind of
them all in
protect
binders. Yep.
it.
Yep.
It's easy to organize it and kind of if you want to show people, you know, what you show. Because I think I have like a little like a change bowl, and then I just throw them all in there. You know.
Yeah, yeah, that's cool. Cool. Now, tell me about your latest release, We Stand and Fight. That just came out, right?
Yeah, it came out last Friday. Um, it's a song that we've been playing for 2.5, 3 years now.
Uh,
It was like the first song that my brother wrote. Actually, well, no, what happened was, um, like how far back do you want to go? Let's go back. Let's go back. I'll give you some context. So we wrapped up our circuit in 2019, and then we were going to release the expanded edition in 2020, and then obviously COVID happened. We had a really like the biggest tour of our career get canceled, with like 3 festival appearances in that tour, I believe. Like markets we'd never played. It was like 25 new markets or something crazy like that.
right.
The longest tour of our career that got canceled. But you know, from 2018, I remember. So let me tell you something funny. So from 2018 to 2019, I and our manager at the time, we had a manager, he was pressuring us to get out a release for 2019. He's like, I really want you guys to put out a new album in 2019 because it
Right.
would make sense. 2017 is the demo, 2018 is the EP, 2019 would
Right.
be the album. But you know, life got in the way. And throughout 2019, it was just like, hey man, when's the new album come out? And I'm just like, you know, I'm not the songwriter, my brother is. And
Right.
2019, I think, was a little difficult for him because my brother got married and he had to go through some challenges and stuff, you know, getting his own place and all that. But 2020 rolled around, and we had luckily struck this deal with this label, and they wanted to re-release the record. So I was like, okay, well, we kind of lucked out. We
Uh-huh.
lucked out, you know.
Yeah.
Somebody wants to re-release the album, and why don't we just go on tour in 2020 and then just hit markets that we've never played so it's still fresh to those audiences,
Right.
right? And then buy us some time for maybe like a fall 2020 or a spring 2021 new album release. So COVID hit, and we just, you know, we didn't do anything. I didn't even touch my drums for a year and a half and change. And
Right.
but my brother started kind of writing some songs, but I really had no idea he was doing this. Like, and then I ended up getting COVID in November of 2020, and it was pretty scary, back then. Like there
Right.
was no, I don't know what your stance on it was, but
Uh-huh.
uh, it was a scary time. It was a very scary time. And then right after COVID, I recovered from it. My brother's like, "Hey, I want to show you something," and then he took me to his studio and he basically showed me the rough drafts of all of the songs.
Right. Yeah.
But the one that was most complete was "We Stand and Fight," and it was the one that was easiest to kind of learn and perform. And in terms of production, it was the one that would probably go well live the most. So that was the one that we just started learning to. We learned a couple of songs and we started kind of sprinkling them in to the our live performance. So it's been a long time coming to release this damn song. A lot people that have come to our shows, like they know we start the shows with that song. But it's kind of nice to have it out, in the ether of the song space of
Right.
YouTube and all that stuff, because now people can actually hear it and learn it and memorize it. And, maybe they can sing the lyrics when we play them live. So it kind of captures exactly where we left off um, from the 2018 or the 2020 release. I think if you listen to that release, the EP or the self-titled, that "We Stand and Fight" could have easily been on there,
Right.
um and kind of captured right where we left off. So I think that's why we chose that song. We didn't want to like alienate our non-existent fan base, but also just it's always fun to kind of come back into the scene after not releasing anything for so long and just like have like a pretty solid track to for people to listen to.
Cool. Cool. So what are your hopes for the future of the band?
We actually have a lot of stuff that we haven't announced yet, but I can kind of make it known to you because you're asking and I got the time. So the future of the band. So we do have a single scheduled to release. It'll be the second single this year. Um that one's called Haunting.
Uh-huh.
That song is a lot more let's say melodramatic. It has actual keyboards in it, a lot more heartfelt and personal than like a traditional
Right.
song about fighting and standing up for what you believe in and that kind of stuff. It's a little bit more heartfelt.
Uh-huh.
So that's going to be coming out in the first week of October. We're going to be, it's all like, I have my digital distribution guy, Matt from Noise Cartel, like I'm pretty much almost done.
Right.
So that's already like set to release. We already have the artwork for it to release it. And then we have a label deal with it's actually kind of like a rock and roll type of label. It's not really like a metal label, but
Right.
we've been working with them. I've been working with this guy in the past with his bands, and we've done a lot of shows together. And when he reached out to us saying that he would love to work with us on the release, then um I was like, no brainer, man. Like I love the music that they play. I love the scene that they're in. It's more of like the stoner rock, heavy rock, bell bottom jean type shows,
Yeah.
instead of the denim and leather type shows.
Right.
So we're gonna do that in October, and then, or I'm sorry, the first week of October, and then we're gonna release a single, which is called "I Feel Fine," which is more of like a Van Halen got into double pedal more, in a more aggressive fashion. That'll be coming out, I believe, the first or second week of November. And we have the artwork for that already, and that's already in the pipeline. And then the full album release should be the week before Black Friday, the week before Thanksgiving, with all of the formats, CD, tape, vinyl. And then that's at least for what we have planned through November.
Right.
Uh, we're gonna try to do a music video in November to celebrate the release, and then I think in January or February do another music video, and then in March or April release the third music video to promote the album, and then that'll be where we probably start kicking off our touring. You know, we want to be really smart with how we attract new fans, but we also want to be really smart with how we engage with our fans, our pre-existing fans. You know, we need to wake them up. They haven't been involved with us for years. You know, like we had really great fan base from 2017 through 2019, and some of them messaging me like, "Are you guys still playing? Are you guys still doing stuff?" And so we're trying to kind of be really intelligent about how we release the stuff, and maybe it's a little too pragmatic right now, but you know, we're trying to do the best that we can with what we have, and kind of really put a lot of effort into the release from a investment standpoint. You know, music videos are not cheap. We're gonna independent release some of the album on our own, and kind of get back out there. I really hope maybe 2025 is where we start doing the 100 shows a year stuff again, you know, like so that's like between now and March, April, that's kind of like what the game plan is.
If you get to go out on a, a headline tour, who would you like to, play with?
Well, that's a good question. I always tell people, if you're a young band and or I'm a young band in the sense that you don't have a lot of releases and you're not selling out shows and stuff.
Right.
I always advise against doing like touring with a band, because you're going to be splitting the money. Which I know it sounds really selfish, but we've always done our own headline tours where we're doing like a dive bar circuit. But that's just like the fact of the business. Now the dive bar tours or small tours can be really beneficial if a band that you're taking with is a buzzing band or a far more established band. So when we were actively touring, like I'll be frank, nobody wanted to tour with us. You know, I even asked some bands and they're like, "Oh no, that doesn't line up with our plans," or, but it was just probably a very nice way to say that we don't want to tour with you guys.
Right.
But also I think our sound has also really been, we tried to really market and pigeonhole ourselves in like the new wave of traditional heavy metal scene, bands like, Enforcer, Night Demon, Haunt, Summerlin's, like that, those types of bands. But I feel like while we did capture some fans from that market, I feel like we had a really hard time kind of being recognized as a band in that scene. Because I think a lot of the stuff, we played a new wave of traditional heavy metal show in Calgary with a couple of bands in that scene, and people were coming up to us and they're saying, "You guys are a really great AOR band."
Right.
And I'm like, I think we're trying to market to the wrong guys, but you just don't know how the people will react to your music. Like, I had no idea what the fuck AOR meant, when he said that. I had to go and like Google it.
Right.
And then this was, 5 years ago.
Wow.
So it was just interesting, so I mean, if we do the release and it's successful and a band that's bigger than us, in the sense that their draw is more accessible than ours, they want to take us out or they want to put us on a tour, then by all means, like, it'll be worth our investment to make it happen. But if we're not waiting for something to happen and we need to make something happen for ourselves, then we'll probably just do our own tour. Like, we're the only attraction on the bill and we're just banking on the local scene to come out that night.
Right.
And we're hauling our own stuff, our own backline and all of that. There's a lot of bands out there that have like a buddy band.
Right.
We don't have a buddy band yet. Like, for example, I know Trevor from Haunt and Hellfire. They're always doing tours together. They've been touring together for years. Savage Master is always touring with Traveler, for example. They always do tours together. So we don't have a buddy yet. So maybe this release will attract somebody. Maybe it does well. And I'm eating my own words in 6 months.
Well, congratulations on the new album, We Stand and Fight, just released. Everybody go support it. It was great. Would you like to say anything to the fans out there?
Yeah, if you haven't already, We Stand and Fight is being digitally distributed on, I think, all the platforms, Spotify, Apple Music. If you want to support us directly, we do have a Bandcamp page where you could access that. It's the first song in our first song released this year that's gonna kick off a pretty big release cycle for us. So stay tuned. We have a lot of new music coming your way, and by November you'll have a new album out.
Will you have any merch coming out?
Yeah, yeah, we do hope. So we do have all the single releases. Each single release will have its own artwork, so we'll at least produce artwork amongst the single releases, and then from the new album art, that's the plan. So we'll have at least like 4 new t-shirts. And then if we do a big tour next spring, then we'll have a 5th t-shirt. But yeah, we typically never re-release our t-shirt. We've only done it one time. So yeah, we have a lot of new merch. Like we don't have any merch right now. So we got that coming.
Thanks a lot, man. Congratulations.
I appreciate the opportunity and the time. Thank you so much.
Talk to you later. Bye-bye.